The bookstore that ate the world, Amazon's origin, rise, and what it became. By the end of this story, you'll know the two words in one quick sketch that turned a scrappy online bookstore into a company that rewired how the world shops, reads, builds software, and even talks to computers. Keep those in your back pocket as we roll the tape, because when they click, the whole Amazon playbook snaps into focus on a risky leap and a garage that wouldn't quit. Here's the scene. Mid-1990s, the web is exploding, and a young hedge fund VP does the most yawn Wall Street thing possible. He walks away to chase a single chart. That chart shows internet usage rising like a rocket, and he can't unsee it. He lands in the Seattle area, sets up in a garage, and gives the project a placeholder name so odd he has to change it later. The first desks? Doors with legs bolted on. Not a vibe choice, just the cheapest way to ship faster. If you've ever wondered why frugality stuck to the company's DNA like superglue, it's because it literally held up their laptops. The site goes live in the summer of 1995 with a focus tight enough to laser-cut steel. Books. Infinite catalog, quick search, fast shipping, honest reviews. Nothing flashy, just a clean path from curiosity to package on the porch. And from day one, customers don't just buy, they return. That's the first quiet win. The second is tone. No hard sell. No friction. Just, we got you. It feels small, but it's the beginning of a relationship that will last decades. The IPO, the attitude, and the promise of day one. 2 years later, Amazon hits the public markets with a message you don't usually hear on Wall Street. This is day one. Translation: we're going to favor long-term bets over short-term polish, and if that means our quarterly numbers look lumpy, so be it. It's a cultural contract as much as a financial one. The market blinks, then buys, and inside the company, the mantra hardens into habit. Obsess over customers, not competitors. Lean towards speed. Treat experiments like tuition. Speed, by the way, isn't only shipping boxes, it's organizational physics. Keep teams small enough to share two pizzas, and you get fewer meetings, more code, and faster loops between an idea and its impact. That bias toward surgical teams turns out to be rocket fuel once the catalog expands beyond books. The habit machine. Prime and the trust dividend. The mid-2000s deliver the move that recalibrates e-commerce itself. A flat-fee membership that swaps shipping anxiety for confidence. Order a single paperback, a box of cereal, a phone case, or a 40-pound bag of dog food. The friction is the same, close to none. What looks like a shipping perk is actually a behavior engine. When you remove the tax of hesitation, baskets get bigger, categories widen, and customers start treating the site like muscle memory. The membership becomes a trust contract. Will be fast, predictable, and fair so you can be decisive. Here's my take. That's when Amazon stops being a store and becomes a habit. Habits compound. And compounding is how you wake up one day with a business that looks inevitable. The cloud nobody asked for until everyone used it. Almost in parallel, something wildly non-retail starts forming in the background. The company has gotten very, very good at running websites at scale, and developers outside the building want those same muscles. So in 2006, a new door opens. Storage by the bucket, compute by the hour, databases without the drama, all delivered as utility. The pitch is humble. Pay for what you use, but the consequence is seismic. Now a founder can spin up an app in a weekend without buying a single server, and a Fortune 500 can shed data center baggage like a winter coat in spring. The cloud isn't a side hustle. It becomes one of the most profitable engines in modern tech. What I love about this chapter is how unforced it feels. The company didn't pivot into the cloud out of boredom. It productized a capability it already needed to survive. That's a very different kind of innovation. Built in the kitchen, not a showroom. A pocket library and the reinvention of reading. Then comes a device that slips your entire bookshelf into a carry-on. Wireless downloads, a screen that rests easy on your eyes, a store that never closes, and, this is important, a price for books that feels fair enough to normalize digital reading. The first units vanish within hours. People who swore they'd never give up paper suddenly find themselves finishing novels in airports and buying the next one before they deplane. The magic isn't just hardware, it's the loop from desire to ownership that now takes seconds, not days. The flywheel sketch. Time to pull out the sketch I promised. It looks almost silly. A spinner with arrows pushing a circle, the words lower prices, more selection, and better customer experience feeding each other. But that little doodle explains the last 20 years. Lower prices attract more customers. More customers draw more sellers. More sellers. Expanded selection improves the experience. A better experience drops costs through scale, which lowers prices further. And around it goes. That's not strategy as poetry. That's strategy as physics. Every major move, membership, marketplace, logistics, even advertising, hooks into that wheel and gives it another shove. Robots, warehouses, and the boring brilliance of logistics. Behind the homepage, the company quietly becomes an operations masterclass. Robots snake through fulfillment centers, shelving comes to humans instead of the other way around, and delivery shrinks from 2 days to one to later today in dense metros. It's not sexy television. It is, however, the difference between a promise and a brand. When you press buy now, you're really pressing trust now. Hitting the window over and over is what keeps that trust from fraying. One detail that still makes me grin. The core of that operations culture never forgot the DoorDesk lesson. Spend where the customer feels it. Save where they don't. Nice floor lamps don't ship packages faster. Better routing software does. Groceries, voice, and the home as a platform. At a certain point, retail categories stop being add-ons and start being arenas. Fresh food? The company buys a premium grocery chain and marries physical aisles with digital patterns. The home itself? A cylinder on your counter starts answering questions, playing music, flipping lights, and ordering paper towels when you're out. Voice goes from novelty to default for 100 tiny tasks. Whether you love the idea of talking to a computer or side-eye it, the direction is clear. Commerce is getting ambient. The store is everywhere and nowhere at once. I saw leadership handoff and the cloud builder's turn at the wheel. In 2021, the founder steps upstairs to executive chair and hands the CEO keys to the person who built the cloud division from scratch. That choice tells you everything. The next decade isn't just about bigger carts. It's about better infrastructure. AI models you rent by the minute, chips optimized for training, and developer platforms that feel like creative studios. Retail remains the heartbeat, but the circulatory system is software and services, satellites, chips, and the next frontier. Zoom out, and the edges of the map get wild. There's a satellite constellation taking shape, designed to beam broadband to places where fiber won't go. There are custom chips and foundational AI models available through the cloud, so businesses can build the next generation of applications without owning a single rack. If the last era was click and it arrives, the one taking shape is ask and it happens. That's a very different promise, and this company is building the scaffolding to make it feel normal. A few undertold moments, two little stories you rarely hear. First, the original company name didn't last, and the backup name the founder bought just in case still points to the homepage if you type it into your browser today. Second, the signature desks weren't a prank, they were a statement. Cost discipline is a competitive advantage, not an accounting trick. Those details matter because they're not trivia. They're tells. Here's another. The company's most famous letter to investors isn't a victory lap, it's a warning shot. Day 2, the opposite of that day 1 stance, is stasis, followed by irrelevance, followed by pain. You can feel the paranoia in the phrasing. That paranoia, properly directed, is what keeps a giant from sleepwalking. Rivals, regulators, and the cost of scale. Let's be real, when you become infrastructure for how people shop and build software, you attract both copycats and courtrooms. Competitors carve off niches. Policymakers ask hard questions about market power, third-party sellers, and defaults. Sometimes the company adjusts deals. Sometimes it redesigns features. The constant through line is the same loop as always. Will the change make the experience faster, cheaper, or clearer for customers? When the answer is yes, the business barely notices the turbulence. When the answer is no, you see course corrections in real time. If you strip the brand down to studs, you find 3 beams. 1, a willingness to trade short-term optics for long-term mechanics. 2, a comfort with boring excellence, logistics, latency, unit economics, developer ergonomics. 3, the humility to package internal superpowers as products and let the world rent them. That's why the company keeps finding new front doors into its ecosystem without diluting the feeling of the original one. So, those 2 words and that one sketch? The words are day 1, the promise to act like a startup even when the market cap says otherwise, and relentless, the attitude that refuses to let convenience drift backward. The sketch is the flywheel, that lo-fi diagram whose arrows still push everything forward. Together they explain a journey from garage shelves to global infrastructure. Before we wrap, I'd love to hear your read. Which move mattered most? The membership habit, the cloud pivot, The reading revolution or the bet on satellites and AI? Drop your take in the comments. I feature sharp ones in the next episode. If this deep dive brought the Amazon story into sharper focus, hit like so YouTube knows to recommend more of these breakdowns. Tap subscribe so the next one lands the second it drops. And if you want behind-the-scenes notes, extended cuts, and early access, consider joining the channel. Super Thanks keeps these long-form stories coming and puts a spotlight on your comment at the top. Now keep those 2 words and 1 sketch in the back of your mind. Once you spot them, you start seeing why seemingly random moves click together, and why this company keeps turning tomorrow's tools into today's habits.